So usually we have like an opening thing where it's just like, so I guess I'll just be like, oh, The Last of Us Part 2. It's like a movie because, video games, gameplay, but they're cinematic. It's like a movie.
It's got actors in it.
Also, I guess other movie things would be, who cares about Justice League? The first two movies weren't good. Why do you think Justice League's going to be any better? Boom, we've got a movie thing said. Play the intro.
It's meandering movies, listening to Gary, Ryan, and Gavin. It's all about films, but goes off course. Will there be arguments? Of course, 'cause everyone knows their lives are dull and they have nothing else to talk about.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Meandering Movie Podcast. This week, this is going to be a bonus episode. This is going to be something very different because currently we are still on hiatus. Gary and Ryan are not here this time. We're losing people by the bonus episode, so you just have maybe your least favourite person of the podcast, Gavin, hosting for you today. And I just played The Last of Us Part 2 recently, and I really wanted to talk about it. And the only other person who I know that's currently played it and likes me, hopefully, is my good friend Ross.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for the flattering intro there. I'm the only person that's played it, so who else am I going to get to do it? Fair enough.
That's not how I feel. I feel you. We've known each other for over 20 years at this point.
Yes. Yeah, it's about 20 years.
And when it comes to video games, we're the primary people that talk to each other. Obviously, like Gary every so often, he's a big video game guy, but
you've largely stopped playing many video games.
Yes,
just the big ones.
Which is an interesting thing when it comes to Last of Us Part 2. Is before this, I've stopped playing video games because I'd lost interest. I wasn't excited to play video games anymore. But my love for The Last of Us meant I had to come back to the world of video games and the industry and.
Yeah, I think just to put it in context, I think the last thing you actually probably played properly was God of War.
Probably, yeah. Because I tried Red Dead Redemption 2 and I gave up.
It's bloody long.
I played Spider-Man, but I didn't really... It was fun, but it didn't do anything for me. Like, the last game I cared about was God of War.
Yeah.
And then The Last of Us was, like, the last hurrah of gameplay. I mean...
Which was now 7 years ago.
It was. We're old, Ross.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just going to do like a wee review / spoiler cast of The Last of Us Part 2. And I'm just going to, you'll already see it in the title if you care about it or not, but this is going to have full spoilers. We are not going to shy away from all of the terrible things that happen.
I don't think you could.
No, it would be kind of difficult to talk about this game without going into all the spoilers.
They're really short.
So I'm going to sound the spoiler klaxon, and after you hear the spoiler klaxon, it's just game on. Just get ready for it. So... Play the wee noise there, Gavin.
Aha!
Thanks, Gavin. That was great. That was the spoiler klaxon. And so we're just going to get straight into it. What did you think of the last... Well, I should give some context. You and I have not spoken about our feelings on the game yet.
No.
We've given some general ideas, but I was like, hey, Ross, let's just record a podcast, but let's not tell each other what we think until we sit down and turn our mics on. So now I'm really excited to finally talk to a human being. What did you think?
Well, going by the fact you've invited me here to do this, I'm going to go and guess you enjoyed it. I absolutely loved it. It's one of the best games I've played in years. It's probably the best game I've played since The Last of Us. That was a really big year, for me in gaming, because The Last of Us came out, although I didn't really play it until I think 2014 or 15.
Yeah.
I didn't have a PS3, so I borrowed yours.
Yeah, I'm a very kind friend.
You're a lovely person. The other big game I played that year was BioShock Infinite, which was, again...
that was such a formative year in terms of those two games.
Yeah, kind of story-based actors and stuff, because Troy Baker, I think, played both lead roles. But The Last of Us 2, I absolutely loved it. When I first heard that The Last of Us was going to be a standalone, they weren't going to do any sequels, and then obviously they saw how well it sold, and then resold once they're on the remaster for the PlayStation 4.
Plus just the general reception from like the media and stuff, and from fans and everything. Like,
yeah, they were like, this is one of the best things ever made.
It won
best
BAFTAs
bits of media, never mind a game.
Yeah.
So they decided to do a second one. I was a bit apprehensive how they're going to tackle it. Are they just going to do straight completely different characters, same world? What are they going to do? And then I saw the first trailer, which came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was like 4 years ago. I think they did an E3.
I think it was it was like a Firefly thing and
and then Ellie was on a bed playing a guitar, and she was like, "I'm gonna fucking kill them all," and Joel's like, "Oh, like what's up?" and stuff, and then just like The Last of Us Part 2, and we're like, okay.
And then I think the year after that, they came out with the characters we didn't know. It turned out to be a cinematic in the game.
Yeah.
About halfway through it.
Yeah,
we don't even know who Abby is. We don't know any of the other characters in it. You just see someone being tied up and start to be hung.
I remember the one they did where it was the barn scene, where it's Dina and Ellie and they're dancing and stuff, and it also intercuts with, like, I think Ellie's fighting the Seraphites in that thing. It kind of cuts back and forth, and then I think it ended with the Abby thing of like Abby being strung up, and they're going to hang her.
Well, I think that's the same E3 where they done the Weird Studios thing. So they took all the press people and shoved them into giant sets they'd constructed, and the Last of Us one was the barn dance. They built the full thing.
And they had Gustavo Santinello like come out.
Yeah, he done a wee intro. Oh, that was great. And then they shoved everyone into the Ghost of Tsushima that's coming out next month.
And they had the wee guy play the flute.
Yeah, and you were like, what? This is the strangest press conference I've ever seen.
Because I wasn't, like, obviously we loved the Last of Us stuff because you were like, it's more Last of Us. But that conference was weird.
Over the top, unnecessary.
Yeah.
I was like, look how much money we've got.
I guess the good thing that's come from the lockdown is now all these studios are just like, let's just make a pre-edited, pre-packaged kind of hour-long video and just show you games. We'll cut out all the E3 nonsense of just like a guy in a suit coming out and goes, we care about fans and we want to experience. Like, shut up, just show me the game. It's like, that's all
the buzzwords in there.
Well, you gotta get those buzzwords and play those drinking games.
Connectivity, revolutionary. But what did you think of The Last of Us?
The Last of Us Part 2 was a fucking... And it's going to be weird not having Ryan here to just do the wank hand signal. So every so often when I see wanky things, if you want to just give me wank hand signals,
I can do that.
That'd be great. The Last of Us Part 2 was a fucking unrelenting journey. And it was what... You're already laughing at me. There we go. There's the wank hand signal.
It only took about 10 seconds.
I know. I get there fast. You know, I like to finish up. The ladies love it. For me, we just have to say right, just get to it. Joel dies.
Early.
About 2 hours in, maybe 2.5 hours in.
It felt to me like an hour, but yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, but because there's a whole lead up.
I can't judge the pacing of that game. I can't tell how long I've been in it.
The pacing will be an interesting thing to get to because it is maybe my biggest gripe with the game.
All right.
But like the beginning of the game, it's Joel and Ellie, and you are Ellie, and you're kind of wandering around. You're getting to know Dina. You're going through the kind of daily life. You can see there's a bit of friction or distance between Joel and Ellie, but you don't really know much about it. And then you start playing as Abby, and you're kind of thrown into it, and you're like, who the fuck is this person?
Yeah.
Who are all these people? Why are they here? And the Abby stuff is where you get most of the initial kind of intense gameplay, because she's sneaking around, she's killing runners and stuff.
Those
and
giant arms.
She's so ripped. Which is
comfortably bench press me.
Which is a great aspect of that character, which we can dive into. But when the game gets to that moment where Joel and Tommy walk into that room, and they're like, "Oh, I'm Tommy. Yeah, and this is my brother Joel and stuff," and he's like, "You all act like you know us or something," and there's just that kind of pause, and you're just like, "Oh," because you know they're there for someone, because they get to Jackson, they're just like, "Oh, how are we going to get him out?" and blah blah blah, and then she shoots him in the leg. She shotguns him in the leg, and I'm just like,
"Oh no,
I lost my shit." And then you switch to Ellie, and I've got the Last of Us tattooed on my goddamn arm. I love this game. It means so much to me. These characters mean so much to me. So when Joel...
Just to clarify, which tattoo are you talking about?
Just this tattoo on my left arm, not the one...
Which is of...
The Fireflies.
Which is a group Abby was part of.
It's funny you say this, because when I got to that segment and Abby shotguns him in the leg, and then she takes it to the golf club and she's like, "You stupid old man, like, I'm gonna make you suffer," and all this kind of stuff, and she starts hitting him. I literally thought in my head of like, I might have to get like a wee red circle and a cross mark through the Firefly tattoo to be like, I can't be supporters of these people.
There's some other tattoos first you may need to work on, but we'll leave that.
Yeah, this one's quite good. But then you get to Ellie, and you have that panic that she has of, because she thinks that Joel's maybe got taken by a clicker or something like that. She has no idea what's going on.
It reminded me, if you remember, in the Last of Us Part 1, or just The Last of Us, what we're calling it, there's, during the winter segment, Ellie is... it's not Troy Baker, who's the other famous guy?
Nolan North.
Yeah. Who the character he plays, where he's...
David.
Yeah, where he's... Joel's kind of was in a basement or something. He's just been stabbed. Ellie's by herself, and then this character David was starting to do some inappropriate things to her, and you could see what way it was going.
Yeah.
And then it switched back to it was a kind of similar thing. We switched back to the other character, and it's the same kind of intensity, and you're thinking, Christ, I need to do something with this.
Yeah, it's you come back as Joel, and then he's torturing that guy. He's like, I'm going to pop your kneecap out. That, for some reason, that line always stuck in my head of just the image of like him putting a knife in behind a man's kneecap and popping it out. I'm just like,
I never get that, but it says something about you.
But then you, like, yeah, that's a great point of just like, you're then Joel and you go to that town where these cannibal people are, and you have that panic of like, I need to get to her, because like you have that protective kind of father bond that Joel has.
It's strange for, I don't know how many people listening to this won't really play video games or haven't played this before, but it's something you do get with films, but you don't get it as much, that there's actions you actually take have an influence on what happens to the story. Granted, it's not like a choice-based game, but you get that feeling that, I need to do something with this.
Yeah.
This is just my people that are doing this to you.
Maybe not as much in movies, unless it's a movie that's got like multiple sequels where you really, really connect, like a Harry Potter or something. Yeah. Like by the 7th movie, you're like, you feel like you are part of Harry's story.
Yeah, I grew up with these kids, same age as me.
I think a show like a Game of Thrones is maybe closer to what it's like. Of like, by the time you get to like the 5th, 6th, or the 6th or the 7th season, like everyone has their characters they care about. Like I was always a Jamie guy. By the end, I cared about Jamie.
We didn't love Jamie.
Exactly.
Yeah, because obviously most films, 90 minutes, 2 hours, 2 hours and a half.
Yeah.
Whatever. Games, generally speaking, most story-based games are about 8 hours to 12. These kind of longer-based games, we are spending, I can't remember how long The Last of Us actually was, the first one.
I think it was like 15 or 16 hours.
So you say you spent 16 hours with, and most people I know have played that game at least twice. I think I've played it probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I've done it 3 times at this point.
So that amount of time you're spending with the characters, plus there was a DLC for The Last of Us game, was it Left Behind?
Yeah, Left Behind, Ellie and Riley's story.
Great in itself. So you're spending all that time, and then you add in all the hours you're spending Last of Us Part 2. You're spending well over a day with these characters.
Yeah.
It's just the TV, your controller. I was playing it with noise cancelling headphones in the dark, which was terrifying at points.
Yeah, I was the same. I turned the lights off. I sat in front of the TV. Audio boy was very kind to leave the room and go into his own room and just give me the peace of mind to just be with these characters in this story.
You do become that much more kind of not linked, but you feel it that much more. The characters feel that much more close to you. And then,
was an interesting question I have for you, because I've always felt this as, when you finished the first Last of Us game, how did you then feel about Joel as a character? Because obviously you'd played as Joel for so long. Because for me, I felt Joel was, in the end, with the final decisions he makes, not that he's he is the bad guy, but not in terms of like, he's not a Thanos type bad guy. He's not got these malice, evil, horrible intents to like kill hundreds of lives, but he has selfish reasons that paint him in a picture that I thought made him more of an antagonist to that story than he was a protagonist.
I don't know if it goes far as he was more of an antagonist. Correct me if I'm wrong, the main decision at the end of the game, the first one, for anyone that doesn't know, Ellie, the kind of other main character, is the only person that's known to be immune to this fungal / zombie infection
thing.
And Joel was tasked with taking her to a group called the Fireflies, Gavin's tattoo, in order for them to see if they could create a cure for her. However, it turned out that they would have to kill her in order to do this. Joel wasn't happy with it. It was wrapped
around her brainstem and stuff.
Yeah. So they were going to have to do it. Joel wasn't happy about it, so he went and rescued her and then disappeared for the hospital we'd taken them to, while killing some people on the way. Now, that kind of very end sequence there where he goes into the operating theatre and takes her is, I think, replayed, or you go back to it a couple of times, the corridor, like 3 or 4 times, I think.
3 or 4 times as Ellie and as Abby.
As Abby. See, at the end of the Last of Us, I'm pretty sure you've got a choice whether or not you kill the doctor.
No, you don't have a choice.
Do you not have a choice?
No, yet like
you can either shoot him or you have to fight him. Was that it?
Yeah, the only choice you really have is, how do you kill this doctor?
Right, okay.
Is like it, because, which is a problem I guess some people might have with the first Last of Us, and I don't know if you feel this, or with the Last of Us as like a story kind of game, is we a lot of games now and for a long time have always been, this is your world, this is your character, this is your story, you tell it how you want to tell it, you choose option A or option B or blah. And The Last of Us very much of, this is Joel and Ellie's story, The Last of Us is, this is their world, and you're a part of it, but you don't get to decide how, you don't think the way they think, you just have to be a kind of a tool towards their decision making.
Yeah.
And so at the end of The Last of Us, you have to kill that doctor and save Ellie. You don't get to choose anything else. This is Joel doing this. I love that because as a movie guy, I'm here to see a guy tell his story. Neil Druckmann and the people at Naughty Dog, they tell their story.
See, yeah, if you want that, go and play Fallout, go and play the Elder Scrolls, go and play, I don't know, the Outer Worlds. Something that's like an open base RPG where you make decisions. Oh, what would be an absolute badass? Or what would be a great guy?
Yeah.
Someone in between. See, it's not for that.
No.
The Last of Us is we've got this story to tell. We're going to tell it in a really brutal way. We'll let you come along for the ride, and you're going to see different aspects of it from different perspectives. But it's our story to tell, not yours.
Yeah, and I love that personally. I know for a lot of other people, that's
no objections to it at all.
But then, yeah, leading into The Last of Us Part 2 with Joel and Ellie, I think because of our connection to the first game that we spent so much time with them and that so many years have passed, we've maybe built them up on pedestals of Joel and Ellie. Joel is this great man. Ellie is this great little girl, and they're great. But they've done a lot of terrible things. They are bad people. And that comes back to obviously bite Joel in the ass big time because he gets beaten to death with a golf club.
Well, yeah, true, but at the start of the game, we don't actually know why. We can assume, and it turns out that is actually the reason.
Yeah.
The decision at the end of The Last of Us.
There's a discussion between Dina and Ellie where it's just like, oh, it could have been fireflies, or it could have been these
smugglers
people.
from Boston.
Smugglers from Boston.
Because he was a smuggler for 20 odd years between the prologue of Last of Us and the start of the game.
I think it's that much time is between his daughter dying and then.
Yeah, so there's 20 years of life we don't know about. We know he was a smuggler because that's how you introduced him.
Tommy were fireflies for a short time.
Right, yeah.
So it's like they've done, and obviously the Joel we play as in The Last of Us, that scene was like, I'll pop your kneecap out with a fucking knife. Joel has done terrible things, and in The Last of Us does terrible things. So then when you get to The Last of Us Part 2 and they kill Joel, what was your reaction when they killed Joel?
I knew it was coming.
Yes.
Because you could tell, you were maybe going into the game, you weren't entirely sure, but you think there has to be some kind of catalyst. They've got this cushy life, they're living in Jackson, it's lovely, something needs to happen. What's going to happen? Christ, they're probably going to kill one of the main characters. Well, Ellie's in the game, I know that.
Yeah.
She's on the box cover, they're not going to kill her in the first minute.
Gameplay and the trailers and stuff.
Yeah, whereas Joel is in some of it, not all of it. You're like, okay, in the back of your head, it's probably going to be Joel that's going to die, and then obviously they come across Abby. Yeah, it's my brother Joel, and she's like, oh, cool. And then obviously the bit with the shotgun comes, and laterally when you play as Ellie, get into bursting, walking down that staircase, bursting into the room, you can hear his screams.
Oh.
Which was a bit gut-wrenching. And then you see Abby setting about with a golf club. It's a bit of a cruel method to kill somebody.
But as we learn later on, I can see why she went that route.
It's somewhat justified.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, it was a difficult watch.
Especially when you see what she's done to Joel, when you see his face and all that kind of stuff, and you hear the pain and like the kind of gurgles, and that's that moment for me kind of drifts back to what we were saying earlier. In that moment, it's a cutscene. You don't have any control. You watch it, and all you want to do is be Ellie. You want to like fight out of that kind of hold they've got you in. You want to get your knife, and you just want to fucking chunk Abby's head right off with it or something like that. But obviously you don't. Because this is Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog story, you don't have that control. But the minute that moment happens and it kind of cuts to black, what was your emotional reaction to that?
It was kind of gut-wrenching. You're like, oh, fuck. And then you're thinking, right, where's it going to go from here? Because you don't really... obviously, it turns out they've managed to identify one of the patches they were wearing, so they know what kind of general area of the country they came from, which allows the story to progress. But you're thinking, what now? I'm struggling to go over it. It's a video game. I don't even know the character. How's Ellie feeling?
Yeah, it's a weird thing because for me it was like that moment happened. I then just like I had to stop the game, kind of step away. I went and had a cigarette. I was kind of like fucking hell. I was just like I'd feel like because I'd felt like I'd lost someone I knew and I cared about.
Were you going through the stages of grief?
I was going through denial and acceptance and all this kind of stuff. But that's the incredible thing about The Last of Us. Like it could make me feel that way about a fictional character, but one one that's completely made up on a computer. It's not an actor. It's not fucking Cillian Murphy as.
It's not even his likeness.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like Troy Baker. It's just like, but it made me feel that way. And then I had that kind of sadness, and I was really upset about the loss of Joel. But then the anger came of like, I'm gonna fucking find this bitch, and I'm gonna savagely kill this bitch.
There's that thing, because like that's not the end of the story. You're only at the start of the game. You know, there's something coming. There's revenge. There's the rest of it.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm probably going to get the opportunity to set this right, and it's going to be quite satisfying. So you continue playing the game.
Oh yes,
all my audio boys like, Gavin, what the fuck's going on with you here?
Can I come back in the living room yet? And I'm just like, no, it's not going to happen. Sorry,
give me a couple of days.
Sorry, you've decided to live with me. But yeah, then you set off with Dina, and I feel it's not until this probably plays into my pacing issues. It's not until you and Dina get to Seattle and there's that first kind of open area you're able to explore,
which was brilliant,
that I feel the actual, and this is maybe a stupid thing to say and people would make fun of this, but this is where the game for me,
it's almost have the rest, it's just a prologue.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean.
Like the opening of The Last of Us, boom, that's one of the best openings to a game ever, of just like, here's these two characters, here's the situation, you have that control and you're running and you don't have the control over saving your daughter and all that kind of stuff, but it hits you and you're like, fuck, I am in, let's do this. Whereas The Last of Us Part 2, I guess because we know these characters, we know this game, it's more of a slow burn to get to... Yeah,
because they can't really... I mean, they probably could have done it in some way, but you couldn't do the same thing again with The Last of Us Part 1, where you had that kind of, 20-minute prologue, something like that. Which is, there's Let's Plays with like grandparents playing it and stuff like that. Grandparents play The Last of Us Part 1. I keep,
for some reason, stupidly watching it, and every time I watch it, I was like, this is just going to hurt at the end.
The bit I loved, I can't remember if it was on the re-release that they'd done, but see the behind the scenes where you see them filming it, doing the mocap stuff, and the actors are actually like fucking taking 5 minutes after it because you can tell how much emotion they're putting into it. But
it's funny you say that, because when I was playing The Last of Us Part 2, I'd kept having... Because now, obviously, I've watched a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff for The Last of Us, and I've watched a lot of interviews, and I really like Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson and all these actors and actresses, really love them. And I'm just thinking, like, stuff that happens in Part 2, like, God, this must have been rough to fucking film. Like, the Joel death scene. I can't imagine how fucking awful that must have been.
Especially because, like, I know there's some flashbacks and stuff. I don't know what order they filmed this in, if they're not chronological or just had a random shooting schedule for it. But that would have been difficult, because that's like it's probably his most famous character. Yeah. It's what he's known for. Did he win a BAFTA?
No, Ashley Johnson won a BAFTA and he was nominated.
You get nominated for a fucking BAFTA?
I think this calls back to something you said earlier, of that year that Last of Us came out, also Bioshock Infinite came out, and I think that's maybe where you and I both became aware of who this Troy Baker person was, because I was just like, who is this guy that's been a part of two incredible characters? And I don't know if it is the case, but for me that was where Troy Baker became the Nolan North, because Nolan North's always been like, he's Nathan Drake and he's in every game and he voices everything, and Troy Baker's gone on to become that person, but it's Joel's the character that I think defines his...
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not expanding that one. So they head up to Seattle, so the game actually properly starts.
You actually have more control to do things.
Yeah, it feels similar to the game that The Last of Us was, the same kind of gameplay mechanics, and it's a bit more at the very start open worldy. Yeah. It's a kind of small area, but you can...
I was expecting, because they did that with Uncharted 4, they had those segments where like...
the bit of the desert with the truck and all that.
You're in the car and you can drive around, and I, like, once we finally got to that gameplay moment of like ride around with Dina and have those conversations and like loot things and like, oh, don't go into the courthouse right now because there's something in there, like, I was like, I'm so happy right now. Like,
this is great.
It's like, I'd started to forget about the trauma of losing Joel, and I was like forming this new relationship with Dina, which Dina's a whole problem for me in a different reason.
Are you not a fan of Shannon Woodward?
No.
The actress that voices her but doesn't play the mocap character. I don't know why they're different.
My main problem that I had with Dina, and this is a weird thing I'll probably end up cutting out, is she looked a lot like someone I once knew. And fucked.
I'll speak to you after that.
Yes.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. For me, with Dina, I had really weird mixed feelings, because she looked like someone I knew in my personal life, but I'm trying to form this new relationship in game. I
can totally see why that'd be an issue.
Yes.
As I was saying, the kind of mocap was done and the voice acting was done by different people. Yeah. Which for me, I just didn't get the point in it. If it was, it was a scheduling issue, but I don't think Shannon Woodward's that busy.
Yeah, I don't know.
She's in what's that show, Westworld.
Yes.
She's quite big in Westworld. I think she's still in that. She don't really do much else.
I mean, I guess the good thing is it isn't much of an issue.
No, I mean, it holds up. There isn't any... And you don't get a kind of disconnect between, you're thinking she's trying to do this emotional performance, but she wasn't there when they were acting it out.
I mean,
I never noticed that.
For me, I didn't know about this until you said it there, that it was two different people. So
you don't notice she doesn't look a thing like Shannon Woodward?
Well, I never really looked up who the people look like, because then it always... I follow Shannon Woodward on Twitter. I've done for years, and she was obviously saying, there you go.
By the way, when the trailer came out 3 years ago, I'm doing a character in The Last of Us. Good actress. That segment where you go into the synagogue, and she's like, this is a synagogue. It slowly introduces you back into the game, the courthouse, the bank.
The bank was the best part for me of that. I was just like, I forgot what the dread is like of the clickers and like the pace of these kind of interactions with them, which this game has some fucking intense moments.
You talk about the hospital with Abby?
The hospital with Abby, and also when you go down into like the sewer area with Ellie, and like maybe it's when you're chasing after Nora in the hospital, and then you and her fall down in there, and you've got that kind of subway like area, and there's like clickers, and there's also WLF guys.
Oh, that's with Dana. That's just before you find the cinema where you set up base.
Yes,
because it's like they've got it red. I don't know if it's flares they're using to light it, so it's lit in this really eerie red thing. You've got WLF coming looking for you, and then clickers, and you can throw bottles and get them to fight with each other.
Which is, I guess, with the gameplay is there's not much of an evolution of the gameplay.
I'd say there was quite a big. For me, it felt like quite a big thing with the whole movement system.
The movement, definitely. You can
be
move
able to go prone,
and
crawl under things, under trucks to get away from people. They've obviously built in segments to the levels and stuff.
Yeah.
There was that bit in the shopping mall where it's half it's underwater.
Yeah.
How good was that?
I think that's for me the gameplays of two places. Of in one side, it's like the basic structure hasn't changed. Of just like you have your interactions with human characters who have guns and they move around and you try and like keep on your toes.
Yeah.
And then you've got your interactions with runners and clickers and some of the new fucking like the shamblers. Fuck the shamblers. I never knew how to interact. Like I can't sneak around them. I can't if I take
shamblers can see, can't they?
I think so.
It was never actually told whether they can, and I'm still not entirely sure. I just assumed they could and just stayed away from them.
Anytime I saw a shambler, my two reactions was either just sneak around it or get the shotgun ready if I'm lucky enough to have any ammo.
I was doing those kind of tripwire bomb things that Ellie makes.
Yeah.
I was doing loads of them and then planting them and throwing a bottle while sneaking around the corner. And then that way they were only one shot.
I think, the basic structure is the same, but the best thing this game has gameplay-wise is the variety in which you can approach a situation.
Yeah.
Because that when you're talking about where you're in, it's like this shopping mall, and this sounds so quaint and silly to say, but they add in the aspect of swimming in water, and so you've got the mall's like the mall's 3 levels, so you can either go under the water, you've got the ground floor, and then you've got the first floor, and then you've got characters on all levels, and there's maybe like 10 or 12 of them,
and your objective is to steal a boat at the far end of the mall. That's it.
I found out because I was like, fuck it, I'll just go for the boat. I'll try and get out of here. Takes a while to get that boat going, and you get shot real fast.
Yeah,
because they're just like, who the fuck is that? Shoot!
Someone's come stealing our boat.
It's like, well, we're not gonna let this fly. But the variety in which you can approach, because I can imagine for you and I, because we have different gameplay styles a lot of the time. I feel,
That's fair.
You're good at games and I'm not. Is you could have played a scenario out completely different to how I ever would have
100 different ways
touched it. Yeah. I think the first time, because I remember there's a lot of segments in the first Last of Us where I was like, this game, like there was gameplay moments where I'm like, oh, I can breathe afterwards because it's so intense. And the first time that happens in part 2 is when you get to Hillcrest and you're trying to work through the houses to get to Tommy. And at the end of
it turns out it's not Tommy.
It's Jesse at the end. That segment's like incredible.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying, as in these intense moments, and you'd be a wee bit of kind of maybe a puzzle or something.
Yeah,
you're like throw rope through this. You get this generator with power in it.
The safe number.
Yeah, how cool were those safe bits? You're having to read loads of stuff, and it's like, by the way, safe. The comment, like the Earth apartment numbers and your apartment numbers, and you have to go and find their apartment.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's good fun.
And then they would trick you out sometimes and like, oh, that's it there. And it's like, oh, it's not actually, because you have to, it's a different thing over here that if you'd looked for, you'd have found and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, actually changed that. That's the old save combination.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. I didn't think there was as many of those moments where I don't know. Maybe it was just because I played it really quick because I happen to be lucky enough to be on annual leave just now for my work, which is good fun.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I go back on Saturday. I'm not looking forward to it. It felt as if there was less of those kind of calm down moments. It felt as if I was getting into heavy encounter after heavy encounter after heavy encounter. I was fucking mentally tired after some of the, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stop for tonight and play some, watch some Netflix or something just to chill.
Yeah.
I'm fucked.
I feel exactly the same. I played I got it on release day and I played it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, finished like 2-3 a.m. on the Sunday, I feel. Took me 23 hours and 46 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
And Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I had some of the best sleeps of my life because after it, I was exhausted. Like, which is, again, sounds so stupid to say because it's like, it's a video game, blah, blah. But it's not only the gameplay is like really intense and like you're in it. And like, for example, a single encounter like that encounter at the mall, that single encounter can go on for like 20 minutes. You can be there.
You could actually be there just doing it properly for 20 minutes, depending how you want to play it. You can mess up and die, in which case you need to go back to the start of the encounter.
Yeah.
You could be in something for an hour. I mean, if it probably was only about 20 minutes or something, but see that I was saying at the bottom of the hospital?
Yeah.
When you're playing as Abby and you fall in and then that weird creature thing, like the amalgamation of a couple of... I thought I was going to throw my controller through the fucking TV at that. That was driving me mental.
Because this is the fun thing, getting to actually speak to other people about their experience with the game. I feel I got real lucky in that encounter because I came into it and I was just ammoed up and I was ready to go without even knowing I needed to be ready to go.
I think they gave you ammo in advance of it.
I know, I just mean I'm just like all my, because I'm not good at games anymore. I used to be, not anymore. I would find myself entering into so many encounters where I'm like, oh shit, I need my rifle. And I would pull my rifle out and it wasn't loaded or ready to go.
Yeah,
and I'm just
I'm
like, oh, for fuck's sake. But the only time I was, for some reason, subconsciously ready to go is I walked into that situation with that Resident Evil style monster boss thing and every gun was loaded and ready to go. I had all my trip mines ready. I had all my smoke bombs and I'm just like, here we fucking go. And I did it in like my second or third try. But when that second thing breaks off...
Oh, it wasn't a clicker, was it?
No, I don't know.
It kind of looked like a clicker.
It was like one of those... I can't remember the names, but the ones that when you use your sense mode, you can't see them.
Runner, it wasn't a runner, it's a...
Shimmer?
What's it, hide? Oh, yeah,
Shimmer or something? I can't remember. No, the horse was names was Shimmer. But it's like... Oh, poor rest in peace, Shimmer and Alice.
How scary was that when that horse got blown up?
Oh, I'd shat myself.
It came from absolutely nowhere.
Because you lose a lot in The Last of Us Part 2. Like Joel, for example.
I'm not going to lie. See, as soon as I saw that horse, I was like, that horse is not lasting this game.
True, but losing Shimmer, rough. But Alice...
Oh, the fucking dog.
The path of Alice, where you're like... First you kill Alice, and then you get to make a connection with Alice, which is a great thing about the game, which we'll get into.
Video game creators, studios, directors, and film writers really need to stop putting dogs as emotional devices and things. It's fucking killing me. Even ever since John Wick.
Yeah. Also,
Marley and me.
Because you have two beautiful little dogs, Alfie and Mia. You love them dearly. Mia is like your daughter. I can imagine, because you popped in my head a couple of times because I knew we were going to be talking about this game, is why, of all the things they had to add to The Last of Us Part 2, did it have to be sniffer dogs?
Don't get me wrong. It makes sense. See if you're sitting in a meeting, right, guys, we've got The Last of Us 2 coming up. What do you think of new enemy types to put in it? Or like kind of creatures? No, like kind of human type. Like, you get the brute things, you've got the guys with the snipers, you've got the... what would a natural... You've got this big organisation which you're up against, the WLF, which apparently is also wolves. Yeah. Because it sounds like it. What kind of thing would... It would make sense they would have loads of dogs. And then you get to see that as Abby. When you go back to day one.
The kennels and stuff.
Yeah, the kennels, the setup they've got in the stadium. And it's like, there must be, 20, 40 dogs? Yeah. Something like that.
All German Shepherds, luckily.
Yeah. You get to play fetch with...
you play fetch with Alice twice. See, here's the thing when it comes to Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog.
But this is you only play fetch after you've killed her. As Ellie, it's a flashback.
Yeah. God, it's cruel.
It's fucking horrible.
But yeah, that's another element to the gameplay. Is they bring in the sniffer dogs, and then see, this breaks your heart. If you kill the owner but not the dog then starts whimpering and trying to find its owner, but the owner's dead with an arrow in its fucking head, and you're just like,
you know what's worse? See, when you set it on fire using a Molotov cocktail, and the owner, and you just hear the dog whimpering because it's on fire. It's horrible.
I started playing encounters trying to not kill the dogs,
Same.
Either just kill the owners or not kill anyone, which is another great element to the gameplay.
Hard, but doable.
You can play a lot of those encounters, and you can try and get through it with killing as little as possible, if no one. I got through like one encounter when you're on the Seraphite Island near the end, where it's like you get to a big cornfield and it's quite expansive.
I remember that.
I got to that bit and I'm just like, I don't have the stamina to fight anymore. I feel like I've done so much to get here. I'm like, I can't have another 8-minute shootout where I waste all of my ammo and get fucking annihilated. I'm gonna fucking Assassin's Creed my way through these goddamn bushes if it's the last thing I do. And I'll
leap of faith into it.
I'm gonna fucking leap of faith my fucking life out of here, and I was able to do that. But yeah, the sniffer dog element of just like they've got your scent, and it's just like you can run, you can cause a distraction, or you can just fucking kill the poor bastards.
If I had to kill the dogs, I was going with explosives because I wanted to be quick for this artificial dog.
But that situation at Hillcrest is a perfect example of like that encounter. That
seems to go on for so long.
It goes on for a really long time, maybe like 25 minutes or so, because you keep moving through. Like you get to one suburb, there's a couple of houses, guys up and down or girls up and down. They're on multiple different levels, and you get through it. And you're like, and then you're right into another one again, and it drops you in, and there's like 4 guys, and they rush you. And like, okay, I've got through them. And you get past them. There's now another suburb, and you're in this suburb, and it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, and then you get to that bit where Jesse's like, "Oh, do you think I'd let you do this alone?" And then that kind of Uncharted-esque moment happens.
Oh,
Which, how did you feel about... Because obviously Uncharted 4 was a massive success.
I loved it.
The gameplay was a huge evolution for that franchise. But bringing those Uncharted moments into The Last of Us, like when you're in the car or when you're on the horse...
They're few and far between.
Yeah.
Do you just mean the exploration stuff on the horse?
No, I mean like when you're on a Seraphite Island and stuff, and you're like running through the...
Oh, as in, shoot them, as there's like set pieces going off.
Yeah, big set pieces.
Always like quick time events, but not quite.
Yeah.
I actually think some of them might have been. I mean, they're few and far between. What is that, 2?
Yeah, I can think...
In a 20-hour game or a 25-hour game?
The other one would be when your first play as Abby and you're in the back of the Humvee and like the Seraphites attack.
Yeah, so it's three parts of a 25-hour game that maybe at most they all in last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's for all 3 collectively. It's not really that big a deal. I mean, it kind of moves the story on. It gets you from...
it does make you get
progresses
quickly.
On the Seraphite Island, or the Scars, where we're going to... getting to see the place burning down as you're riding through it was cool.
It's like
great.
It's like something out of like Apocalypse Now or something, just watching like this whole other story. And I'm going to keep saying this, there's something else we'll talk about in a minute, because there's so much I want to talk about. But just seeing that, the ending of that story unfold, of this kind of the Seraphites and the wolves coming together for this massive fight. And I think it's a scene where you and Lev are on the boat rowing away, and the camera kind of pans round, and you see like wolves and Seraphites just tearing each other apart, and everything's ablaze, and it's just murder and like kind of aimless, horrible, thoughtless death that could have easily been avoided by either side, but wasn't. I'm just looking at it like, this game's got layers on fucking layers of like shit that it's tackling, and it's still able to keep the focus on its characters and have this bigger story.
There is a lot going on, especially like, I don't know how you. I think you play it similar to me, where you're not just right. I'm at this bit. I need to get to that here, straight there. I'm at this bit. Oh, there's a shop over there. I'm going to. I'm gonna go and walk about and have a look. See if I can get some supplies. There's loads of letters to read. I don't know if it's something to do with people in Seattle or America that are just constantly writing letters.
It's true. I was thinking something
post-apocalyptic as well, because it's stuff before the events happen that caused the kind of post-apocalyptic thing. Plus, it's just everyone's writing letters. Love it. Love reading.
There's also, especially with Ellie's journal as well, and all that type of stuff. That game, that's what was great about The Last of Us, and it still continues to be great about Part 2, is the way they flesh out the larger world through these little side stories of like, you find a body and it's got a letter on it, and you just read that letter, and as you progress you find other letters, or you find little notes on the wall.
Great example, that'd be when Abby and Lev are trying to get to the hospital to get the medical supplies for Lev's sister.
Yara.
Yara. And they have to go through I think it was a hotel.
Yes.
But you can find, so the ones before, the kind of last elements of the government after the outbreak was Fedra, which obviously had tried to fight, but they were also quite oppressive, and there were mixed things.
Kind of military state scenario.
Yeah, they were still actually quite strong in Boston at the start of the first game. You see a checkpoint being blown up by the Fireflies, kind of natural enemies type deal. And throughout this hotel, you find different bodies because these Fedra guys have been sent up to clear it, and it's obviously just gone wrong because there's still loads of infected there.
And even more infected because their bodies have become part of the infected.
Yeah, with riot helmets and stuff on, and a flamethrower. Not a massive fan including a flamethrower in the game, not going to lie.
Yeah, like I remember the first one when they brought in the flamethrower. I was like,
it just feels like a cheap gimmick.
Yeah.
What other weapons can we put in here? Flamethrower.
Also, I never used it. Like, I used it during the Resident Evil boss fight.
Because you were ran out of weapons. You're like, what if I got the flamethrower? Fuck it.
But outside of that, never want to... Because I either want to sneak up and shiv a thing, or I want to fucking rifle it from 20 miles away where it can't touch me.
Yeah. It works. But yeah, getting to see those letters, and then you get kind of, oh yeah, this guy's told us to come up here, the guy's a fucking idiot. And then you see a letter from the guy, and it's like his orders from the Fedra higher up saying, you need to go and do this. I know it's a shitty thing, but get your finger out.
It's a great way.
It's just little tiny bit, like, I don't know, half the people that play the game won't even read those letters.
Yeah.
But it's just little things. And it kind of explains why the game's been delayed about fucking 6 times. It was supposed to come out in... Was it last year?
It was supposed to be out early last year, and then it was going to be mid last year, and then it got moved to... It was going to be early this year, and then it got moved to...
I think it was a COVID reason it got moved to the summer,
as
opposed to the early part of the year. But they've had plenty of... And this is what happens when you don't rush something.
Yeah,
you get to create something fucking beautiful.
And it's like, that game is... Like, sometimes I would get to parts in Seattle or something like that, and I would just kind of stop and just look around at, like, the environment that had been created, and all the, like, the little silly details, and just, like, the way, like, the environment, as in, like, trees and grass had taken over buildings and stuff. And
yeah, there was a bit of that. I was quite a bit in the first game, and then obviously it's 4 years on.
Yes.
From the events of the first game, more or less. So the trees have taken back a little bit more. It's in a different climate. Granted, it did go across a few different states in the first game, but it's all set in Seattle, which is the northwest of America. Really wet. I refuse to believe it rains that much in fucking Seattle.
Yeah, I don't know where that rainstorm of great proportion came from, but I mean...
But the game looks stunning. The weather, the kind of environment they chose for it, I mean, you get to later on in the game, when you go to Santa Barbara, see a more dusty environment. But it just, I think the weather lended itself to the game and what they can make look nice. In a kind of same way that, tying it with movies again, why not?
It's a meandering movie podcast, we've got to try somehow.
Jurassic Park. Obviously all the CG stuff and that was done while it was night. It's set in because it's easier to do and it looks better. If they'd done it during the day, T-Rex would look shit.
You can hide the little
imperfections and all that stuff. It's similar to kind of the game. What can they do really well in the kind of... Because we're getting to the end of a console generation. This is not cutting-edge hardware. The hardware, your PS4 is what, 5-year-old?
Yeah, mine's still an original PS4, and it's not even a PS4 Pro.
They going to primary school this year, if it was on.
It's true. Little boy's all grown up.
Yeah.
I need to clear out his fan a little so he runs a bit better. Just
like your own kids. So when you consider that, you've got to make something that looks great in 5-year-old hardware. It's hard to do. What can we do? We'll have this kind of what looks really good in it. Water effects and weather. Yeah, that looks brilliant. The grass, the kind of that leafy, I don't really know much about plants. See those kind of leafy things you crawl through, the kind of shrub things? Yeah. Crawling through them, it'll look brilliant. Whereas if they'd said it's something like a desert, or I think it definitely helps.
Yeah, when you go off to like California later on in the game and stuff, it's just like it
looks fine.
Looks fine,
but it doesn't look stunning. It's not a rainforest.
When you're in Seattle and stuff, and you're just like you're going through those kind of buildings that have been taken over by everything, it just looks. It's the same with Uncharted 4 when like they go to those kind of like old abandoned pirate cove towns and stuff, and it's just got that kind of woody, greeny, ruined by water feel.
Looks cooler.
Yeah,
better. Yeah, stunning game. Made much better by playing it in a 4K HDR TV.
Yeah, you were
PlayStation 4 Pro.
Luckily, the TV I've got is good. It's just the PS4.
But I bet it looked fine.
Oh, it looked gorgeous. It looked fucking amazing. Like that first time you're Ellie and Dina in Seattle, just riding through the woods and stuff, and like the sun's just kind of peering through the trees and stuff. It's just like, oh, this game's like Naughty Dog have always had this ability to push the best out of the console they've got, because like The Last of Us and the PS3 looked amazing.
I'm not that Crash Bandicoot.
And then so that those pixels on that little, what kind of animal Crash Bandicoot be? I guess
It's a bandicoot.
that makes sense. I don't know why. I'm gonna cut that Gav. Cut that out. Yeah, The Last of Us looked amazing on PS3, but then of course they brought out the remaster for PS4, looked even more amazing. Then Uncharted 4 came out on the PS4, and it's like, holy fuck! It's like the facial animations for Nathan Drake and all that kind of stuff.
Do they have their own? Do I do geeky? I'll stop after this. Do they have their own game engine?
I have to imagine yes.
I don't think they use like Unreal or one of the easily licensed one. I think they've built their own.
Yeah, I think over the course of the Uncharted games and stuff like
Fair
that,
play to them.
and like with The Last of Us, they had to obviously tinker and change it a bit because it's two very different gameplay styles. But yeah, I think at this point they've built their own kind of engine to do this stuff, and it shows because part 2, like, even down to the moments where like you're, because there's a lot of time you sneak up behind an enemy and you like get him in a hold, and you can either like hold your gun to him and use him as a hostage and stuff, and you look at the animations on the face of the person they're holding hostage. Like when you start choking them out,
that has to have been done. They must have acted that out a couple of dozen times. Get different, because obviously all the individual enemies, I think every individual character has been individually mapped, so is it kind of photorealistic look. They must have done that with actors looking at the face, because that would have taken so long to animate, but it looks so good.
it's
fucking brutal though.
Oh, that's something about this game, is it puts you in such a violent landscape, and it never lets up. Like, I think my first example of the game that really got me was I had my rifle, I shot a guy across like a road or something like that, and it took his arm off, and then he just fell down and started screaming in bloody curdling scream murder. And he's like, oh my god, and he bleeds out, and I'm just like, what's going on? And I walk over and I went, holy fuck, I did that. Like,
what have I done?
What have I done?
I didn't discover till later in the game. See, when they're screaming the ground, see if you run up and press square, you can actually end their suffering.
Yeah, you can curb.
You chose not to, which is
I didn't know at that point. Later on, obviously.
For me, it was the explosive bombs that Ellie has when they go off, and like fucking 2 legs and an arm come off.
Yeah.
And then their friends screaming their actual, which is different than the other game. They would go, oh my god, he's got one of us or something like that. In the first one, there's a screaming actual character names, even though it's like there's no. They've just given them names, which actually does help quite a bit in making it that wee bit more real.
It makes it more realistic, and it humanises these people you're killing more, which then was another reason, not just because of the trauma of going through another massive shootout. It was, I got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to kill these people, because as a person, as a normal human being, Ross, I'm not a murderer. I don't get any enjoyment from killing people.
Sure.
In a Call of Duty type of game, it's like there's a disconnect of like, there's the Nazi over there and they're speaking in the Nazi, I don't know them, and you shoot them.
The Nazi, that famous language. I kind of get what you're saying. I think the graphics definitely play a lot in that.
Definitely
when
the graphics.
You play a Call of Duty, it's not cartoonish. There's an element of kind of realism in it. They're not going for a cartoonish look, especially the newer ones. But there's that, you shoot someone, there's maybe some red spots appear where you've shot them, and then if they fall to the ground, there's a blood might trickle out somewhere. When you're doing this stuff in The Last of Us, you're watching like Ellie's takedown move is she takes out a wee knife, stabs it into someone's throat, and then peels away their jugular as she's pulling to the ground, and you see her knife flicking out, and then a blood trail flicking out into the environment that's there for you to look at. It's fucking grotesque.
It's intense,
and the audio, some of the best sound design I've ever heard, but it's fucking horrible.
Just like people gargling on their own blood
and
stuff.
What Foley sounds did they use to smash someone's head? Was it watermelons they were hitting with baseball bats?
There became moments later in the game where it's a moment that stands out very vividly in my mind. It's when you and Lev are trying to make it to the hospital to get supplies for Yara, and there's this encounter, and there's 2 people, and he goes, oh, and it's just like 2 Seraphite guys, and one's talking about his daughter, and he's just like, oh, I'm gonna see her, like I miss her, blah blah blah, the wife's a bit annoyed, all this kind of stuff. And then it gets to the encounter point, I'm like, I don't want to kill these people, like, because they feel like actual human beings living in a real world, and I don't want to put my arrow through his head. I don't want to choke him out and kill him. Obviously, it got to the point where I fucked up the encounter, and they all started shooting him, and I'm like, well, I've got to kill him. But I started getting to encounters with the thought of, how can I get through this with not having to kill these people, because I don't want to. Because of not only the game humanizing them, but because I know of the larger story of these Seraphites and this lady who became their
Savior, prophet,
and then the wolves, and the complete miscommunication and the differences in these people, but also the similarities. And I'm just like, I don't want to be another member of this murder cult of death and stuff. I'm just like,
but it's not your story to tell.
Exactly, which again is why this game is a lot. It gets to the point for the Ellie storyline, I feel, when I get to near the end of Ellie's bit coming to an end and you switch to Abby, when Abby gets to the cinema. Well, in fact, when you've killed Mel and Owen, because I mean, there's a ton of stuff with Ellie's storyline and Joel's storyline we can still talk about, but I want to get to the Abby stuff because when that moment happens, it cuts to black and you wake up and you're Abby. What was your initial thought? Because obviously, Abby being the person...
How long is this fucking game?
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was just like...
It wasn't really false endings, but there was about 3 or 4 points in that game. I thought, is this ever going to fucking end?
Yes.
I don't get me wrong, I'm loving it. Keep going as long as you want, but... I mean, there's limited disc space here. Where is this coming from?
I mean, it comes on 2 discs because you let
2 Blu-rays on it.
It's 99 gigabytes.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is going to... I was like, Abby's a bit of a cunt, but yeah, sure enough, I'll see how it's... Sell her to me. I assumed that's where they were going with it. They were going to like look at it from her perspective. Because that bit where she says, in kind of really well given, she goes, "You've killed all my friends." You're like, "Fuck, I have. I just killed a pregnant woman."
Yeah, that moment is where things changed for me in the Ellie storyline, where I had lost the drive to want to continue Ellie's story, not in a bad way in terms of like, oh, I don't want to play this game anymore, this is rubbish, blah, blah. In terms of just like, I didn't want this for this character anymore.
You didn't want the revenge because you're like, what's it going to cost her?
Because look what it's cost. Because what she does to Nora in the hospital, which you kind of see, but you see her, the aftermath where she's shaking, she's like, I tortured her, I had to do things to make her talk. That's terrifying because you're left to imagine what Ellie had to do. And then you get to the moment with Owen and Mel. And I forgot that conversation near the beginning of the game where Owen's like, oh, Mel's pregnant and stuff. And you get that moment and Ellie's trying to be all Joel-esque of like pointing the map and he pointing and she thinks she's in control. And that moment truly shows us how out of control Ellie is because you stab a pregnant woman in the neck.
Oh, okay. And then, yeah, I think Owen is dying in the ground because he's been shot in the chest.
Like, she's like, he's trying to like...
I can't actually make out what he says. And then she must have said she's pregnant. And then she takes her jacket off and you see the bump and you're like, oh, fuck, she was far along as well.
Yeah. That for me is a moment where I'm just like, I don't... Like, Ellie's, we can't keep doing this and I don't want to keep doing this. And so for me, when the game then shifted to Abby, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want this. Like, I want to be there in Ellie's place and just get through that. So for me, the beginning of the Abby stuff, I was kind of like, I don't want this. I don't need this. Plus, I was like, I hate this bitch. I want to kill her because she fucking golfed. She'd done a par 6 on Joel's head.
I chose to. I kind of split. I think it was one of the end of my play sessions when I at the end of that. So the start, you started playing as Abby. That was me starting again from a kind of. I think it was a new day. Or it was later on in the night or something like that. So it was. I'd give myself a wee bit of time, go over the fact I just killed a pregnant woman. Again, no, I killed a pregnant woman, and then I was all right, Abby. Let's see what's happening with this, and then you get to see the kind of the wolf setup, WLF, and then in the stadium,
really interesting.
They've got a massive gym
farm,
which explains the arms.
Explains those fucking arms. They've got schools with kids.
Yeah, the characters you get to see two. Manny, who was with Abby when she killed Joel,
who fucking spat on Joel's dead body and called up in hell, and I was like, this motherfucker, he got to suffer as well, and then.
Then you go, oh, I quite like this Manny guy.
This is the whole thing about the Abby section, is you're just like, I hate all of these people. I hate them all. And then you play the Abby section, and by the end of it, you're like, I love all of these people the same I love Joel and Ellie.
Exactly.
It's fucking...
And if anything, their justification... It's not their justification, but they're kind of... the reasons that caused them to get involved in the story with Joel, it's fucking Joel's fault.
Yeah.
He killed all the fireflies at the hospital where they were living.
And he ruined any chance of a cure, and there was also the personal connection of the surgeon that you kill in the first game is Abby's father.
And she, must have been like a couple of minutes after, in a flashback, a couple of minutes after you've, as Joel, have killed the doctor, taken Ellie, and then you're running through the halls carrying her. Great bit ending it again, by the way.
The music and everything, gorgeous.
The music, that red flashing light with a warning. Oh. You, in a flashback in the second game, get to play as Abby as a 15 or something.
Yeah,
16, 17. Walking through the hall towards the surgery room, where you open the door and then Owen is cradling your dad who's dead.
Gerald or something, I think.
The doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. Dad.
Dr. Dad, okay.
Dr. Dad, confirmed. But I think a flashback before that, you just get a random flashback as Abby, and you're walking through the woods. You can tell you're younger. I think I might actually say 3 or 4 years earlier. It would have been, and you're just shouting out Dad, and you're looking for him, and then it turns out it was a great reveal, by the way, because you're still not entirely sure that's the reason they were there.
Motivation, you think?
You weren't sure.
There's lots of reasons.
Eventually find him. He says, I think he's looking for hoof prints or something like that. And then you come across this injured zebra. And then you realise it's the same zoo for that great giraffe moment in the first game.
Did you have the same thought that I did of, am I going to see these giraffes? Am I going to be able to see like the balcony in which Joel and Ellie are maybe standing on? Because I was like, if they do that, I'm going to lose my mind. I think
seeing the hospital was enough, and realising you're in Salt Lake City and going, fuck, it's them.
Yeah.
And then the animal connection thing, I think, was so smart, because it immediately brings everyone back to, it's a similar thing. All these animals in this horrible world, but you still got these lovely animals, and she's just had what do you call it, baby zebra, a calf. Why not?
Sure.
It kind of brings you back to the same emotion you had when the giraffe interaction, which was brilliant in the first game, except you're attributing it to these two different characters. One that you've already been told you hate.
Also, it puts you in the same mindset of Abby and Dr. Daddy are Joel and Ellie. Like they have that father-daughter relationship.
Dr. Daddy's a bit smarter than Joel.
Well, yeah, sure.
Bet he can't play guitar though.
He can fucking cure a
Evidently not.
Well, yeah.
If he was better, he wouldn't have had to kill her for it.
This bullet to the head can really mess up your opportunities of being a doctor.
I regret nothing.
Well, that's the thing. It's now mental to think about that corridor in The Last of Us. And when I played it the first time, I'm like, fucking Joel, we are getting to there. We are saving Ellie. We are killing this man. But now with the context of the information I have, I'm like, I don't know if I would want to do that. I mean, Joel says, if I had the chance, I'd do it all over again.
Yeah.
Whereas,
is that the last bit of the game he says that in the flashback?
The last flashback. But for me, I was like, this puts a whole other context in things now, which is what makes the progression of the Part 2 story so good. It paints that entire first game in a whole new light for me, and I'm excited to go back and play the first one again at some point, is Joel and Ellie and Dr. Daddy and Abby, their stories are so different and at the same time completely the same story.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, which is why for me the Abby stuff started off and I'm like, I don't want this, despite that moment in the zoo. But as it went on and I formed connections with Manny and Mel and Owen, and I met Isaac, and I wanted to get to Owen, and I met Lev and Yara, and I was like,
I always thought Mel was a bit of a cow, but you can carry on.
Well, yeah, but you know, I'm not, to be fair though, like if Abby and Owen had their thing, but then obviously Abby went off in this, I'm going to become a muscled up monster of revenge death. And so she went off and Owen went off and got things with Mel. And then the whole thing with Abby's story of like, she is consumed by revenge. She's consumed by rage, justifiably so. So she devotes her life to becoming a revenge-killing machine. So you got that moment in the aquarium where Owen's like, just hang out. Let's just play around. Let's, like, you and I, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I need to go home. I need to go train. I need to get ready. He's like, why is that? I've got a lead. I need to go get him. And he's just like, no, we don't need to do this. And it's like, it's great because then it perfectly mirrors the Ellie storyline. But I guess the difference would be Abby is able to see what she's becoming by looking at Ellie, and Ellie's not able to see what she's become by looking at it. I guess because she doesn't.
Well, she does eventually.
True, but
yeah, it's a fucking boat.
But also, I think with Abby, the story of seeing the wolf side of things was great from Abby's perspective. Like when you see PSP Girl, and the first time you see PSP Girl, you stab her with your knife as Ellie.
Just to clarify, it was a PS Vita, but yep, carry on.
Yeah, PS Vita. And then the game brings you back to these moments, you meeting Nora.
Yeah, I think a couple of times it takes you places just before Ellie gets there and fucks shit up, or you get there and fuck shit up as Ellie. Or sneak past everyone. The hospital bit you were speaking about, the last you playing the PS Vita, I definitely wasn't sneaking past them. I killed everyone there and set fire to a dog. I still feel bad about it. But you later on go back as Abby, trying to get supplies to get, is it Yara, you were saying? Mm-hmm. But you speak to all these characters and you can go up and press triangle and have interactions with them and you have conversations and stuff. You think, I played the game 5-6 hours ago, whatever it was. I killed that person.
Yeah.
I didn't just kill them. I smashed their head in with a mallet.
It's an interesting thing the game does, and I don't know if you felt this, where it's just like it makes you
aware of the consequences.
Yeah, it makes you aware of the consequences of your actions
after you've done them,
which I don't.
Which is weird.
Yes, and
I liked it.
And
but
for
it was
me,
weird.
and this is like a greater state because shout out to our podcast boy Ryan, of course. He always says I like to make grandiose statements, but for me, the way The Last of Us Part 2 treats you as a player in that game and gives you these kind of consequential situations that you deal with, it's a step forward in video games for me. Because for me, one of the main reasons I stopped playing video games was I was just doing the same things. I was playing your Spider-Mans, I was playing your Red Dead Redemptions, I was playing a Call of Duty or whatever. I can't remember the last time I played a Call of Duty
last night
campaign.
Campaign, right?
But it's like, or I watched like the PlayStation conference where they showed the PS5 and they showed their new games and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I've done all this before. None of this is new for me. I never felt like I was getting new experiences, and I was just like, I'm just gonna. Whereas with movies, I'm always getting fucking something. They're always challenging me with stories and stuff. And The Last of Us Part 2 finally felt like an evolution of.
Games are always delivering stories, but the way they were delivering them was always the same. Is that the way you kind of meant? Yeah, I completely agree. I can see why coming back to video games and stories, why this would be such a nice change. Not a nice change of pace. It's a horrible change of pace, but it's a change of pace, a pleasant one at least. Yeah, completely. I wasn't sure going in how they were going to do it, what they were going to do. But after now being on the other side, post 3 days, I think since I finished it, 2 days, I absolutely loved it. I love what they done, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
It's an absolute achievement, and then I guess the point, because we obviously both love this game. We've sat here and gushed about this game quite a bit. After I finished the game, I then went on.
Same.
I went on the old internet.
Did you look up hashtag The Last of Us, or you just search The Last of Us on Twitter?
I danced around Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, watched some stuff, read some stuff, that kind of stuff. The reactions to this game are fascinating.
Mixed. Be a polite way to
Mixed
say it.
is a perfect way to describe it, where you have people on either side. Some people say, this is the worst game I have ever played. Which to me, I'm just like, you've clearly not played a lot of games. Yeah. And then you've got your other people who say, this is the greatest game ever made. And I'm like, calm down. Let's just pull back. And then you've got everyone else in the middle. It's like, oh, it's like, didn't like this, but I like that.
Something I always think is weird is how you can tell that video game fans are upset is there's a petition online to get something changed. Usually with a couple of dozen thousand signatures.
Kind of like Last Jedi, a situation of like,
remake The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi with J.J. Abrams.
Actually, another Star Wars one, Star Wars Battlefront 2, has to get continued support, even though it's been supported for 3 years. EA is like, we're done providing content for this.
Also,
keep doing it, petition, it'll happen.
Audio Boy and I played some of Star Wars Battlefront 2 recently, because obviously with lockdown,
looks good, doesn't it?
It looks good. That's about it. The rest of the game is, like, that's a perfect example of what I was just saying about how I don't feel games move forward. The games have kind of got to a place and like, we're comfortable here, let's just continue doing this. Battlefront 2 is just a nothing.
Well, the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, I think, came out in about 2003?
Yeah.
4? 2 or 3?
Some of that.
I'm not going to lie, it's quite similar. It's essentially the same game with better graphics and some new mechanics. Have we moved on much in 18 years?
No.
No, I get what you mean.
I feel some of the most interesting reactions, and this is one of the notes that I'd made, is because we talked about this earlier of when talking about Joel being an antagonist and how we may have kind of built him up on a pedestal over the years, and I feel a lot of people have done that with The Last of Us. Of like, they they've got Joel and Ellie. They've got this idea of who those people are in their head.
Yeah, what it means to them, and if the next game doesn't conform with that idea of what it means to them, there's going to be fucking hell to pay.
I mean, it brings us back to Star Wars again, of just like how people feel very protective of Star Wars and how these characters, like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, people were very upset because it wasn't the Luke Skywalker they knew and loved. It was a new evolution of that character.
His character would have done something different based on how he was in the Empire, so why is he doing something? Well, characters fucking evolve.
And I feel like with Joel, looking back at The Last of Us, Joel was a bad guy. He did bad things. He wasn't this saint. He wasn't a Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi. He was. He has lots of problems, and so killing Joel, people seem betrayed by this. Like the game had the onus to protect Joel and Ellie and give them more of Joel and Ellie.
Again, looking back to what I thought they were going to do or what I was thinking they could have possibly done, get into The Last of Us 2, did I think that they were going to just have more of the same? No, because it's not really the kind of company's forte. It's not what Naughty Dog do. They change things up with some of their IPs. Like Uncharted is fairly similar. All the games.
But the gameplay always
different stuff. Gameplay improves, but the story is somewhat similar.
Yeah.
And it does get with other people. Let's not get into it. But I thought with The Last of Us, because of how groundbreaking it was at the time and how much it meant to people, I didn't think they were just going to do kind of just like a
Joel and Ellie in another adventure.
Yeah, like a 20-hour DLC game where Joel and Ellie have to go and find Joel's lost cousin.
Yeah, like
Cincinnati.
Tommy's been kidnapped.
Yeah,
by the Fireflies. Let's just go off and find Tommy.
I thought they were going to kind of not break the mold because I don't really anything else like it, but do something different. And I think the way they done that by killing Joel within the first hour, 2 hours, was probably one of the best things they could do.
I think one of the words I always thought of for The Last of Us Part 2 was bold. It makes bold choices.
Yeah.
Because they, as we just said, they could have easily just done The Last of Us 2 and Joel and Ellie go on another adventure.
And people it probably would have sold quite well.
You and I would have still sat here and probably been quite happy with that. But that it didn't do that, that it kills Joel in like hour 2, and after that you're like, okay, all bets are off. I don't know what's going to happen anymore. I don't know Ellie could die at the end of this game. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go.
All the way right up until the very end when the credits rolled. Well, maybe not right in the very end, she's in the farmhouse, but all the way at that point up to the final fight
beach,
in Santa Barbara. I don't know why, by the way, but I hate the name Santa Barbara. It just annoys my head.
It's awkward.
I know. I was thinking, Ellie's could fucking die here. Yeah. I was like, the whole way through, I was thinking, there's a good chance they might kill a character I fucking love. And
again,
they've already done it once.
I mean,
20 hours ago.
If they had done that, the reactions to this game would have been even more vitriolic.
Yeah, it subverted a lot of people's expectations,
just like The Last Jedi.
Just like The Last Jedi.
I mean, that brings us back to the point of just like having been watching people on line and stuff and reading people. I saw one guy who says The Last of Us Part 2 is like Captain Marvel, has the same problems as Captain Marvel. Or The Last of Us 2...
Well, Brie Larson.
I made it 2 minutes into a 17-minute video in which the guy never made an actual point. I watched more than 2 minutes, that was, but... And then as another person said, Last of Us Part 2 is just like The Last Jedi, blah, all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, what does that...
I actually see a good meme where it's like, the... is it... The Predator, the arms coming together,
the
locket, a meme of that, where it was like The Last of Us 2 fans and The Last Jedi fans coming together over someone fucking up the sequel that they were hoping for and then didn't get.
Yeah, I
love uses of memes, but I don't think it's a fair point.
I also love that we're mentioning a movie so much just because to...
What, Predator?
Yeah.
There you go.
Just remember, this is the Meandering Movie Podcast. We could just keep saying movie titles. The Prestige. I can understand why you would maybe not like the game because it's a tough game. It takes away Joel. That's not an easy thing to get through, especially if you love this game and these characters. The path it takes Ellie on, Ellie goes to a really dark place. She fucking kills a pregnant lady, for God's sake. This game doesn't paint Ellie in the greatest of lights. But I'm still struggling to understand how this is like the worst thing to happen to these sets of games.
I'm glad they gave the characters arcs.
Yes.
They didn't just set out to tell an interesting story with the characters at kind of their 0 point the entire way through it. Ellie at the start of the game, the kind of when you first start players again. You wake up and there's like this. What is it, Jesse that wakes you up and he's like, "Oh, last night."
Yeah.
And the rest of it turns out she got off with Dana and
Dina.
Sorry, and some other bits, and you're like, "Oh, she's living her life. She's been she's 19 or whatever. She's being
18, 19, maybe.
yeah, she's being a normal girl of her age, despite everything that's going on. It doesn't just stick with that and just like have that as a kind of side plot while they're doing some kind of generic story like Tommy'd been kidnapped or something like that. There's, you're getting quite happy in your life when you go, fucking Joel's dead. You're having to go to Seattle to go and seek vengeance. And
then there's more on top of that. I've just like, we've barely spoken about the Dina-Ellie relationship, but the Dina-Ellie relationship is really important to this game because it's Ellie's new like anchor to the world. But I think, because again with this game with its fucking layers, it's like Shrek, is Dina being pregnant, but it being Jess's child, and then Jesse showing up, and then there's that moment where like Dina's like caring for Jesse, and Ellie kind of has that moment where she kind of backs away and she's like, oh, I can't be with this. Like they have to be together. She's having a baby, blah blah blah, and it adds that extra kind of dynamic to their relationship and the relationships in the game. And then when fucking Jesse dies, because the amazing thing,
you don't get any time to process that.
Here's the thing about The Last of Us Part 2, is it is a perfect example of like, do you know what? People die. And it's shite, and sometimes you just don't get the time to deal with it. And The Last of Us Part 2 does that quite often. Whereas like, it gives you a lot of characters, and it makes you care about a lot of them in ways you never thought. Like Manny, I became fucking Manny was MVP. Fucking give me Manny. That fucking scene where it's you and Manny and Tommy's sniping you, fucking great moment. By the way, of just like,
oh fuck, I forgot.
You're like dodging the fucking sniper bullets while fighting off infected and stuff.
That was horrible.
It was rough to get.
And they just kept coming.
It was difficult, but it was fucking fun.
That was good, yeah.
And then Manny's at that point, it's like, oh, let's just go, poof, head gone, he's dead. And you're just like, no, wait, what, why? And then I had this confusion of like, I cared about Manny? Yeah, I guess I did. I fucking really liked Manny. But earlier I was like, I'm going to fucking kill Manny.
Yeah, after he spat in Joe's corpse and called him a bandeo.
Yeah, I think a bandeo, yeah.
Something like that.
But it's just like the way this game was able to give you a whole new host of characters, which was another reason why I thought Ellie might die. Is just like this, The Last of Us Part 2 shows that The Last of Us is more than just Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
They are a great part to this game, and we love those characters. And Joel will always be part of The Last of Us. But there's more people out there, and there's more stories out there to tell, and Abby's is a perfect example of that.
Abby's is a great example, but Abby's story also gives you an insight into the group that we didn't really get to see, the Scars, or Seraphites.
Seraphites.
The only two characters we actually get introduced to, apart from the ones we kill, you get to hear their names shouted out, is Yara and Lev, who we later find out, or by exploring the city with them, is, I suppose, the Last of Us' first transgender character. Don't really think it makes a difference.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it just adds, there's this thing with the kind of Jackson group. There's this thing with the WLF group. The Wolves and the Seraphites, but then there's also individuals within them. Here's two of them. And this character you don't really like, but you're starting to get to like Abby, who's getting to interact with Lev and Yara quite a bit after Lev saved her life in that cinematic we're talking about for E3 like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Where she starts getting hung. You're like, who the fuck is this person?
God, like,
such a good cinematic.
It's amazing.
It looks stunning.
But when you get back to it and it's like clipper wings and stuff, and you're just like, oh, it's rough.
Yeah.
And then that moment's terrifying because you have nothing and you have to run through the woods and like.
And you're
fucking,
like fist fighting.
And thank God you got those fucking guns on you to just.
I'm glad she went to the gym.
Because
Ellie would have struggled with that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Yara and Lev because that was the point I wanted to touch upon was, again, back to the layers thing, is through Yara and Lev, not only do we get to explore and understand the Seraphites story, like, for example, when you and Lev are going to the hospital and you pass through the sky bridges and you see these little, like, church areas and stuff where you find little totems or little messages.
Kind of, I don't know, almost based in Buddhism. I'd say the religion kind of is.
Yeah, something like that. And
a kind of Buddhism mixed with kind of the Amish type. We don't like old tech.
Yeah, we're going to live off the land.
Live off the land.
Like
you obviously get to it towards the end of the game, go to their islands where they all live, and you get their little villages, which are lovely.
Yeah, it's a great way to get to understand, and that later played on to the reasons why I'd struggled having to then fight and kill Seraphites and stuff, because I'm like, yes, they are doing some bad things, but they're not doing as bad of things as the WLF are doing, but I just don't feel good about killing some of these people. They have families, they have kids, they have their beliefs.
I thought, I'm not going to lie, the game goes into great details and lots of parts. The only thing I could have done a wee bit more information on is the relationship between the WLF and the Seraphites. The leader of the WLF, Isaac, played by Jeffrey Wright.
Was Jeffrey? I was surprised because also Isaac's another one of those people who's just like, at the end of the game he shows up and boom, shot, dead, gone. You're like, fuck, okay, they set him up.
Well, that's I wouldn't be surprised, see if there's going to be DLC for this game, if it's something to do with him.
You play as a WLF or something.
You play as him, like earlier on in the story, like maybe even before
we get to see like the breach of the truce or stuff like that.
Yeah, the truce coming apart, or the breach,
kill the
something
kids.
like. I think that'd be an interesting place to put any DLC
100%.
because he's a good actor and he wasn't really in it that much.
It was surprising. It's
almost as if they've filmed other stuff with. They're going to wait to release. It's just I might be completely wrong. If there's going to be DLC with it at all,
it's true. There might not be.
We good if there was.
I'll take it.
I would definitely take it.
But then with another aspect of the Seraphites that we get through Yara and Lev, and it's such an interesting way to explore it, is the reason Yara and Lev flee the Seraphites is because Lev, or what was her, or what
Lily?
was
Lily?
Yeah, his original name was, I can't remember, but
Lillian or something like that.
Something like that,
was
yeah.
Lily or
and
Lillian
like
or
the Seraphites call him by his previous name, and then he cut his hair because he was a girl but wants to be a boy, but in the religion of the Seraphites that's not allowed. He was set up to be like he was going to be
He was going to get married off to one of the elders.
Yeah, he was going to get married off to one of the elders.
Doesn't sound great.
No. And instead he cut his hair like one of the men, which then was a defiant act against their religion, and so him and Yara had to flee.
I think Yara said she hid him for a few days.
Yeah.
And then they eventually fled, which is probably where Abby comes across.
Yeah. And I think, again, the word bold, such a bold way to pull yourself in deeper to a story of a group of people.
Yeah, definitely. It gives
so
you something to, because they could have done it a couple of ways, but I think the way they done it, it kind of helped to draw you into the kind of their plight and the outlook of the Seraphites, and it makes you think, actually, I don't fucking like these people. They're backwards, and they do have nice houses, and they look as if they're living a nice life. Apart from that, they're pretty backwards. Side note, if I was Lev, probably would have picked a different option to just shave my head off. Probably wasn't a smart idea.
It's a very, it's
Fair play, bold.
Big statement.
Big statement. You're part of a murderous cult that's going to kill you in a post-apocalyptic world. Maybe don't do it.
I mean, that's the thing about the Seraphites is, again, the game gives you different angles of who they are as people, because they didn't break the truce. It was the WLF that did. They were happy just sitting around on their little island, just living off the land, being
praying
peaceful.
And their wee prophet lassie.
But then the WLF does break the truce, and again, this is all stuff we never see. We only hear about it or read about it, which is another great layer to the game. And that's why I felt so conflicted about the Seraphites, because I didn't like the way they treated Lev and Yara and the way they perceived those type of situations, but at the same time they were these peaceful people who just wanted to live by themselves, and it's a difficult one to try and tackle and think about. But the story with Lev escalates when you bring in the mother situation.
Yep.
Because holy fuck, where it's just like Lev runs off to try and get his mother out and get her to Santa Barbara, and you and Yara run after him. And you get there in the aftermath of him killing his mum, and he's just in the corner covered in cuts because she attacked him and stuff, and she's just got like an arrow in her head or something.
Yeah.
It's like, holy
brutal.
Fuck.
And then you have to escape with them. Where it ends up, Yara gets killed.
Yeah, again, another like
just
Isaac
from
goes,
like kind of dead quick. Yara's a good character. At this point, she's missing an arm or half an arm because you had to go to the hospital to get the supplies to get cut off because it was like that.
Like the bones were just dust.
Yeah,
pretty
basically
much.
it was kind of turned septic. Their arm, they had to chop it off. Mel, who was fortunately a doctor, that you killed the pregnant one, is Ellie. Just layers upon layers, like an onion.
I'm making waffles.
Yeah, so you went all through all this stuff to get her arm cut off, and then she's fine. Well, she's better. She comes with you to the island to rescue Lev, and then dies. You're like, what the fuck was that hospital stuff all about?
I mean,
I went through pain for you, woman.
That is two things that I've seen people talking about. Is people like, oh, so you go through this entire segment with Lev, you get the stuff so you can help Yara and get her arm off and stuff, and then they just kill her. What's the point in all of that? And I'm like, what do you mean? What's the point in all? The whole point is it brings you deeper into Lev's story and the greater Seraphite story, which then leads on to the big conclusion of the Seraphite WLF story.
And plus, when she dies, it means you actually think, I was involved in her
and
life.
And it's not like, and again, I'm confused by some people's reactions to this game. It's not like before Yara's death, the game is scared to kill people. Because all this game is like, people die and it's not fair. Like, when Jesse dies, and then you think Tommy's also died, it's like this game just is punishing. And then the other thing is people seem to have this kind of, well, obviously there are people out there who aren't woke, as we all like to be, where they feel all the addition of the LGBTQ elements.
I think at this point you can stop saying woke and just start saying normal.
Yeah, you can just be a reasonable human being who isn't just like put off or...
I mean, the gay thing was touched on in the deal. I think it might have been touched in the game, but it was definitely obviously more heavy in the DLC.
With Bill in the first one, because remember...
his partner, I think, hung in the...
Hang himself. Like, the game touches upon it, but doesn't really go into it.
Yeah.
And then we have it in here with, obviously, the Ellie and Dina, and then we have with Lev transitioning and things like this.
And I did like, or noticed... throughout in Seattle as you're exploring, there's loads of rainbow flags everywhere, but obviously they don't point out to them because they're not going to know what the hell they are.
Also, there are conversations between like some of the characters, like WLF or something. Actually, like there'll be a woman who's just like, oh, I can't wait to get home to my partner. Like she's making a dinner tonight and stuff like that. And it's not like it's just a conversation between two people that you could never hear because you've already shot everyone in the head already.
Yeah,
but they're just that type of stuff where it's like, and there seems to be people who are just so against this idea of bringing in progressive, normalised areas of society. It's not a situation where the game's like, look, do you see what's happening over here? We have a transgender character.
It's
look
like
at
a strobe light flashing up a rainbow flag.
It's not like a big fucking light comes down from the roof and a bunch of clickers start dancing around going, look, transgender people. It's like, no, it's like the game just handles it in a very everyday normal situation because it's an everyday normal situation.
Exactly. It was a better way to do it.
And it's great. That's another reason why, like I said earlier, The Last of Us 2 feels like a step forward for games because it's able to tackle these elements, these stories, and not be trivial about it or disrespectful
or
about
grandiose about it.
Or grandiose.
I mean, you remember, I think it was what was the last Star Wars film called?
The Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. I remember the headlines, first gay kiss in a Star Wars film, and it was like something in the fucking background. I actually had to rewatch it to find it, and I was like, oh, that?
Okay.
It was like a headlines thing. It's no people that matter, that's probably a better way of saying it, aren't talking about this because it doesn't. There's no why make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
Why are we making a big deal about it? Stop talking about it. Right, Gav, next point.
This was one of the points I want to bring back to because when you play The Last of Us Part 2, and I've now gone on and listened to like Neil Druckmann and Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson and people who work at Naughty Dog on Twitter and stuff. I've listened to them talk about the game and stuff. These people fucking cared about this game. Which maybe is a stupid thing to say, but there's people out on the internet saying, oh, they didn't care about us, the fans. They didn't care about these characters. They just threw them out there and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
do you see the amount of effort, especially Neil Druckmann, he's got a massive job. He directs a video game. Not many video games have directors.
It's 25 hours. It's like...
It takes fucking time and effort, and he's got this obviously big thing in his head. The last person that really did it probably was, apart from himself, is it Ken Levine, who done all the Bioshock games?
Yeah, did the Bioshock ones, yeah.
You don't really get directors.
Or Cory Balrog, who did God of War.
Yeah, you don't really... There's like maybe 5-6 different games I can think of at the top of my head that have that kind of a director with an overarching approach. You've got like game leads and stuff like that. I mean, FIFA's going to have a fucking game lead, but it's not people that direct games and the direction they're going in. When you look at the amount of effort he's put in it, the actors and do their mocap stuff, they could honestly be doing a play in the West End somewhere. The actual look is that they're putting proper... They're not just doing their scenes and then, right, first positions again or something like that. They're going into proper effort in it. They're bringing them to tears after it, the amount of emotions they're putting into their characters. To say that they're not or to even imply that they're just kind of, it's a bit of a cash grab. We'll quickly fire out this 25-hour game. It's
Let's kill Joel and make some money off of it.
It's just stupid.
There's not much more because I want to finish up.
Are you going to finish up on the ending?
Yeah, that's what I want to finish up on.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Us talking about after you get back to, I say the ending bit.
Which ending?
The ending bit I'm about to talk about is there's still another like 5 or 8 hours left of it, but it's when, as you've been playing as Abby, you finally get back to the theatre. And the game catches back up.
That's a good place to start.
So you've killed. Obviously, she gets there. Alice is dead. Owen's dead. Mel's dead. Manny died because of Tommy. Nora's dead, but I don't think she knows about Nora until she maybe guesses later on when she gets to the theatre.
Well, she probably had to figure out how Abby knew she was there.
Yeah.
How Ellie knew that Abby was there.
She sees like all the pictures and stuff. It's like they've been hunting us and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
When we get to that conflict and you play as Abby and Ellie's hunting you, what a fucking flip around. Where I'm like,
how difficult is Ellie to play against?
She's fucking good.
There's fucking bombs.
And it's just like, because at first you run into the theatre and Ellie's shooting at you.
See, the first time, because there's a couple, I think 2 or 3 times you get to walk through the area you start to play in, where the set is a kind of, it's a theatre, so it's like the kind of the sets, the design and stuff are kind of laid out in a kind of gameplay fashion where there's nooks and crannies you can sneak around. As soon as I saw that at the start of the game, or when you first go there, I thought there's going to be a level set here, isn't there?
Something's going to happen here. Every time you walk through those curtains.
Naturally assumed it would be someone, every time you walk through the curtains, you think there's going to be something.
Someone's going to grab you and you're going to have to like find
naturally assumed it was Ellie I was going to be playing as.
Yeah.
But I thought it was like a nice turnaround. The kind of, because you're like, even after all the stuff that like I was more on Abby's side than I had been at the start, obviously, but I was still in my heart, in my head, rooting for Ellie.
Yeah.
Thinking, what fucking.
You don't want to shoot.
I'm not going to. I don't want to. See if this game makes me kill Ellie, I'm going to be fucking furious.
Yeah, it's like it's such a conflicting situation where it's just like I just didn't pull out my gun when I'm first able to shoot and stuff. I'm not going to shoot at Ellie, and then you get that situation and Ellie's hunting you, and I'm walking up behind Ellie and I'm like, I don't want.
Punch her in the back of the head.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then you start doing it and you're having the fight, and every time I had to press square,
And then eventually towards the end of that little encounter, I think you're on top of Ellie and you're about to fucking.
You're just beating the fucking
and then
crap out of her.
Dana turns up from nowhere. Obviously, you think she's still in it. She's been pregnant. She was ill. She turns up, and you think, all right, what's going to happen here? Oh, is she going to kill Abby then? And then Abby gets the better of her, and then she's about to kill her, and then Ellie shouts she's pregnant,
and she goes good.
And then she goes good,
and then Lev has to stop.
And Lev's like, mate, what you did?
Like, I remember when that moment happened, I left my seat and I was just like, no. I was like,
so don't kill her, don't kill her. And I was like, imagine. And then I was thinking in my head, what are they going to do here? Imagine if they kill Ellie and fucking
Dina.
Imagine they do it both.
But thankfully, Abby, I think that's where Abby has that turn. Like she
realises, like, what the fuck am I doing?
When she's holding that knife to a pregnant girl's head or throat.
While Lev looks on in horror.
Yeah,
like, mate.
She finally has that moment that Ellie doesn't get. Maybe, I don't know. We have her interpretations.
I think she eventually gets it.
But it's just, and then Abby's like, if I ever see you again, I'll fucking kill you, and she leaves. And just that shot, God's eye view shot of Ellie just splayed out on the ground, spitting out blood, and Dina knocked the fuck out almost. I was just like
comatose.
I just exhaled, and for the second time, I had to just leave and just go have a cigarette and process everything that had just happened.
And then you're like, all right, cool. Was that the end of the game? And then they go to
the farm.
I don't know if it says a couple of months later.
I think it's maybe like 2 or 3 months. I'm not sure.
And it shows up on the farm, which you later find out is just outside Jackson, where they're originally from. Beautiful farm.
Oh.
Kind of covered in barley.
It'll have to be a significant amount of time later because obviously JJ is born. So it has to be.
So maybe like a year later.
A year, 2 years.
He wasn't walking, so I'd say a year.
Yeah.
Child development, Gavin, read up.
I'm not an expert, thankfully.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, this is the end of the game. This is nice. Abby's off doing her own thing. Fuck knows what her and Lev.
Maybe see her in another game.
They implied they were going to Santa Barbara. Maybe that's going to be the last of his part 3 or
maybe that'll be a DLC or something.
DLC. Cool. And then they're having a nice time. But she has a flashback thing with Joel when you're getting the wee mini game with the sheep. How great was that?
I think it's the lead up where you're dancing. You've got the music on. Dina and Ellie seem so happy together. It's still messing with my head that she looks like a person that I know. And then she goes outside to the tractor with JJ, and she gets the wee elephant, and she's just sitting there on the tractor, and you just look out at the beautiful vista, and I'm like, oh, they're like the game credits.
Yeah, I was waiting for the credits. Yeah.
And I just sit there, and then she starts going, boop, and sing wee songs and stuff, and I'm like, oh no, and I press circle, and I get off the tractor, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess maybe we'll just go through the day, and they'll go to bed, and they'll have a wee talk.
That'd be a nice ending.
Nice. Yeah. And then she's like, oh, get the sheep in. Okay, I'll do this wee minute. It seems a bit weird. Like,
it's a nice minute. I've spent like a lot of the game brutally killing people. I will quite happily put some sheep into a pen.
But yeah, and then you do it, and then there's the wee lamb, which is like I guess image for Ellie, and she's leaving the light, she's walking into the darkness. The symbolism is all over the place, and then she has that flash, and she has that kind of PTSD like moment where she sees it, and then when he comes out of it, and she's there, and like Gina's like, okay, give me JJ, we're just gonna make sure you're okay and stuff, and you're like, oh, we're not getting our happy ending, and there's maybe more of this to go.
And it was at that point I started thinking, all right, they're going to leave it a bit open, that she's still struggling with it. I maybe wanted her something a bit more closed, but that's fine. They're going to end it here. And then it's the next day or something.
And Tommy shows up.
And Tommy's like, a horse is there. I think you just finished hunting. Tommy's there, and you're like,
oh, good, Tommy's alive. Because
that was nice, yeah. I was like, is that Tommy's horse? Oh, he's still alive, that's cool. Then he's got a map, and he's like, yeah, I've found Abby. She's in Santa Barbara.
And I'm like, no, Tommy.
And I'm like, surely this game isn't still fucking going. It's like, there's no way this is still fucking happening.
And I think, one, I didn't like how they left things with Tommy. But I can see from a character standpoint why Tommy's like this.
Yeah.
Because he's lost Maria and he's lost Joel. So he's kind of like...
Yeah, his missus split up when we found that out.
Yeah. And he's obviously, he can't hunt anymore because he's
fucked up. He's
crippled. But I still, I would have liked maybe a wee bit more with Tommy, but maybe not because the game already has so much. But then there's that moment in the night where Ellie's like, I have to go. And Dina's like, don't. And I'm like...
Yeah, you walk into your room because you've got your own wee kind of spare room thing, and she looks through her journal, and it's like a drawing of Abby and a drawing of Joel. And
they're like, oh, again, the journal's a great thing. I was like,
did you read the... I didn't look at it at any part for that point for that.
I kept looking at it. It's like, she continues to write songs. Like, I could keep seeing Joel's eyes and she keeps seeing Abby's face in her nightmares and stuff.
Well, I thought it was that bit you could read there. It was a poem and a song, whatever she'd written. I read that and I was like, that's fucking good details, guys. That's a good
great
effort.
little insights into the
end somewhere about here.
Yep.
Part 3, she's still going after her. Nope. Suddenly, I think she said she's going, walks out the door, and then you're playing as Abby again.
And then this is for me where I think my main issue, probably my primary gripe with the game came in, is I'm just like, I didn't want this anymore at this point. I was like, I needed the game to kind of end because I'd already been, again, this sounds so pathetic as a first world problems. I felt like I'd already been through so much with these characters, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I was like, but okay, I'll play as the Abby section. Fine. And we
wasn't long.
No, it's pretty easy. You get down, you speak with the Fireflies, they're like, we're out here, you're like, sweet. And they're walking out, and I'm starting to like, something's gonna happen here. And then the Rattlers get you. And I'm like, no, I don't need this. Because now Ellie has to go save her. And I'm like, I really don't want this now.
Save her's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but like...
I had to go and find her.
I had my expectation at this point because I stopped, took a wee break, and in that time I was like, oh, Abby's and Ellie's gonna go with the intention to kill her, but save her. They'll work together, and by the end they'll be like, you're alright, and they'll split.
That's where I thought they were going with as well.
Thankfully they didn't do that. So
good fun.
When you started playing as Abby again, were you still keen to play? Like, were you still keen for this to be... Because
I was keen in the sense that I wanted to see where they were going with it. I wanted to see where the story was going. But, and I was happy it was still going. I was curious how it was still going.
And how much longer it was going to go.
And I was curious I was curious how long it was going to go on for, what they were going to do with it, and the only way you can find that out is by playing it.
Yeah.
My last playthrough started, the last time up to finishing the game, I started at playing as Abby. What's the thing just before she goes? In the island.
Yeah.
Her landing in the island, I think, was
Yara, and she's like, oh, we need to get over to the other side of the island and stuff.
Yeah, that was where I started, up from there, up until finishing it, so I kept going for a good bit.
It's like another 4 or 5 hours.
Yes, I think I'd had like a 5 or 6 hour playthrough, just finishing the game off, and I thought, you know what, in for a penny. I can't be that far from the end, I want to see where this goes. So when I started playing as Abby again, you get to Santa Barbara, terrible name, I liked the kind of change of pace. It wasn't Seattle, it wasn't fucking raining.
True.
It wasn't green. It was quite beigey.
When you do start playing as Ellie, and you get that new silence gun, which is nice
Mhm.
because it gets the fucking job done.
Does.
Really quick. They add in like getting into the Rattlers kind of hideout.
Yeah,
thing.
that game, that for nowhere.
It felt like a Splinter Cell almost kind of situation. You can release the infected, and did you do that? Did you?
Yeah.
It's just I like that kind of stuff. It's fun, but I was also like,
And you didn't mind it as much because you realised that they were keeping people as slaves to work fields.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't have the drive to keep the game going.
But in fairness, it wasn't that long.
I
I mean,
know,
that Santa Barbara segment's maybe an hour.
It'll be easier on a second playthrough knowing.
Yeah, if you don't know, if you think, have I got another 6 hours to go? Because I had heard that some people, not that I subscribed to them that much, but I think it was IGN's people that were playing the game.
Oh yuck!
I know, said they were somewhere between 24 hours playing it and 33, which is a big.
I think the harder the difficulty, the longer it will take. To play the game.
Definitely. If you're playing that in was it survival mode,
Yeah.
you'd be going to be all fucking day.
Plus, looking around for like collectibles and.
See, I did do. I collected 90% of the coins as Abby, the wee cards that Ellie was collecting, loads of the shit.
Did you get Nathan Drake's wee ring, Sic Parvis Magnum?
I did.
I got that.
I saw it and I was like, that's from Uncharted.
Did you see the PS3 and there was a copy of Uncharted 2?
I did.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it wasn't me not wanting to play. It wasn't negative. It wasn't negative connotations of me feeling that. It was just a bit of fatigue by this point. where
So
I'm
when you get to you kind of defeat the Rattlers, whatever, you get to the wee bit where they're keeping prisoners, and you say, "Where's that?" Or Ellie says, "Where's Abby?" And they say, "Yeah, she's down on the beach." You'll see it when you get there. I can't call it. You think, okay, right, we're getting to the end. Now she walks down to the beach, and then they're all in kind of
crosses.
yeah, it's almost like
They're
a kind of biblical.
emaciated, and obviously the salt water has been crashing into them.
Yeah, and you see her, and you're looking for her, and then you look, and it's like she's fucking thin. Her arms are obviously
Not as
she's not as built.
ripped.
Her hair's short. I didn't even notice Lev at the first.
No.
He cut her down. She cuts Lev down, and then you go. She says, "There's boats this way," and you think, "All right, Ellie's going to be like, you know what? This isn't
Both
fucking-
getting a boat.
She's been punished."
Both going their own way.
You get over into the sea. There's 2 boats tied up. You're like, but the main menu of the game,
Yeah, I
the
was thinking
entire
about this
way
as well.
is one of these boats. And you saw that boat, and you were like, "This is going somewhere." So then eventually you see this is the boat, and Abby crawls into her boat, puts Lev in. She's about to start the engine. Ellie walks over to her boat.
And then has like a flash of Joel's.
Joel crying or
I think
coughing.
that's the first time we see Joel's kind of body from Ellie's perspective, like through her eyes. Because every other time it's kind of been from a kind of different angle. But I
a
think
cinematic angle as opposed
flash
to
is
point
like
of view.
like what Ellie saw from the ground, and that kind of
Yeah, and then she's like, "No,
I can't let
no,
you go.
this is fucking happening."
And
And then she's like, "Square go, Abby," and Abby's like, "No." And then she holds a knife to Lev's throat, and Abby's like, "All right, fair enough."
did you then have the same? Because again, this
Then I
game,
was like, "They're gonna kill Ellie."
well, this is where the game's great at mirroring situations and duality and all that kind of stuff. Of earlier, you were Abby in the theatre not wanting to kill Ellie, and now you're Ellie fighting Abby and not wanting to kill Abby.
And you're like, "Ellie, just see the fucking light.
Yeah.
Revenge is not worth it."
It's like, look, what you've lost everything, and you don't even know haven't even got home yet to realize you've lost Dina. You fucking lost JJ and Dina. You've already lost fucking Joel and Tommy and Jesse. It's just like, stop.
She's not worth it.
And that fight is rough, especially when you're cutting away at Abby.
yeah,
and
he's
stuff.
slicing her up. No, fuck.
And then you're holding her under the water, and I'm just like pressing the square, so reluctant, like I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, and
then
then eventually
She has that flash.
she
of
has
Joel.
she's like, I think she sees, it flashes back to Joel, but he's dead. His eyes are closed.
No, when she's holding Abby under the water, she flashes to when the last conversation where Joel's sitting on the porch playing a guitar, and he sees that for like 1 or 2 seconds, and that's make her stop because that's
Yeah.
her first like maybe glimpse of hope or light or whatever.
And then she's like, "No, right, I've won anyway because I was about to kill her. I'll put it down as a moral win, but it's not worth it." And then they both go their separate ways.
And Abby gets in the boat with Lev, and they go off to the Fireflies. And
Catalina. Yeah, Catalina, because Catalina's in Spain.
much nicer name than Santa Barbara.
Catalina wine mixer. You remember for Step Brothers?
I've seen that movie maybe once, so no.
It's the Catalina fucking wine mixer, mate. Yeah.
And then Ellie
Another
goes
movie
back to the
reference.
farm,
Well, goes back to an empty farm.
Also, I don't know if you felt this way, but the first time you get to the farm and it's all lovely and nice and happy and you're outside with JJ and stuff, that game had me so conditioned to think a certain way that when I was walking up to the farmhouse, I'm like, okay, so there's entrances on that side window-wise and the door, so I can kind of like, if I need to work my way out, I can go this way. Because when you get into situations in The Last of Us, you need to be like, where's my exit plan? Or how am I getting into this situation?
Yes, but there's, quickly to mention, during the fight, Ellie has 2 of her fingers bitten off by Abby, which becomes relevant.
Oh my God, does it become relevant? And then, you get back to the farmhouse. And I remember I got to the farmhouse, I walked in, and this is going to show how much of a weak little soy boy I am. I just got really emotional and teared up because I'm just like she had it. Ellie had what she wanted.
Yeah, you were happy.
And that Dina's gone and that JJ's gone. And then you walk in and Dina's like pushed all of her stuff like into that room, just like, and shut the door and just like, I've shut Ellie out kind of thing. Just like, and then she tries to play the song that's Pearl Jam song.
Is it?
Future something?
If I ever was to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
Yeah.
The very start of the game, Joel plays
For Ellie.
Yeah, when she first gets to Jackson, she says, I've got you this guitar, I'm going to teach you. And then he plays her that.
And then the song comes up a couple more times, but Ellie always stops. But the song's about Joel until that last scene where I think the song is about Dina. Where she's like, if I ever to lose you, that being Dina now. Because like, and then she can't play it because obviously she lost her 2 fingers.
She plays it, but she plays it like she still plays it, but it's missing a couple of notes.
Yeah.
Because she obviously can't do it because she's missing her pinky and her ring finger on her left, which is what the 2 ones if you're right-handed, you do the notes with. It's just, as soon as she picked up the guitar, I was like, she's not going to be able to play it with the fucking... And then it was that song, and I was like, it didn't sound right, and it's because you've lost so much of yourself because you were going for the... I thought, this is... Well done. This is good.
And then where does the flashback happen between the final conversation between Joel and Ellie?
It's just there.
Is it at that
I think
moment?
it's that. I think it's just either after she picks up the guitar or after she puts it down.
Yeah, like she starts strumming and then it goes back to fucking... I lost it. I bailed like a baby in my seat. Just like when like she's like, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I want to try. And then Joel's just like, he breaks down and it's just like, oh. And it's that's their final interaction I'm happy with, because originally there could have been like, I thought it might have been at the dance, or there's that time where you and Ellie like go to the hospital and she's just like, fuck you, I never want to talk to you again, like you ruined my life, blah blah blah. It's just, I love the ending. Did I wish it had gone on as long as it did? No. But when it finally got to it...
Could they have had the same emotional impact on you if they had a shorter story?
True. Very
Probably
good point.
not.
I guess I think a second playthrough will be what helps me settle this in my mind.
Yeah.
Because during that first playthrough, the game is so taxing, it's so much work, it takes a lot out of you. Getting through that last segment as Ellie, I was just like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, this, none of this is, not that it's not fun in terms of, like, I'm still having fun, like, stealthing my way around all this stuff. It's just not fun in terms of, like, the characters that I care about, and I want this to be over for Ellie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. Yeah, as I keep saying, I was worried what they were going to do with it, but having now played it and given myself time, I was happy with what they've done. I think they've done a really good job. One thing we didn't mention though was the flashback where her 15th birthday. I
did want to, as I was saying things I remembered about, there's the 2 flashbacks where, one where she goes to the museum with Joel, and the other one where...
Space Museum, the dinosaurs, was brilliant.
They're clearing out, like they're trying to get the strings for the guitar, and they go into the hotel. That moment's great though, because there's definitely a Joel-sized hole in this video game, where you don't have that Joel Ellie dynamic gameplay type thing, and when you get to that hotel and you and Joel are working together, and it's like, I missed this. I missed like you and I like taking on bloaters and like fucking taking on tons of like clickers and stuff like this. That was a great wee gameplay element. I missed this gameplay of these two, but the bit at the museum is where for Ellie's 15th birthday. It's like, I missed this story.
It evoked the same feeling as when you came across the giraffes.
Yeah.
That kind of just
these two joking around,
because obviously Ellie was born after the outbreak. She doesn't know any of the old world in the life. She does happen to quite like space and dinosaurs. She takes her to a dinosaur and space museum. and she obviously loves it, and you get to interact with everything, look at it, and climb inside her capsule.
When they're playing around, like he pushes her into the water, and then he pushes her, and just that was the stuff from The Last of Us, obviously, that we loved, and it gave us that wee.
And I think it culminates perfectly when they get into the capsule, and he's found a recording of of a space launch.
My heart, Ross.
She's got that. I don't know if you had you picked up a helmet and put it on for her.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so Zara takes that off, puts her headphones in, and then listens to it, and you can it's almost like a kind of dream sequence where she's imagining she's doing it.
Kind of similar to in Left Behind, where like Riley and Ellie find the arcade machine, and like Riley describes what's happening on the screen while Ellie's got her eyes closed, and like it's just little things like that. Just
nice moments that take you away for the killing people.
Yeah, those two flashbacks. I didn't even realise it until I was talking about there. Like those two flashbacks, it gives you those feelings of Joel and Ellie, like exploring, like talking about comic books and joking, and then it also gives you that gameplay feeling you used to have with Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us. Of like those two moments cement. They're very nostalgic.
Nice wee caveats that are kind of taken up by the very last scene where they're chatting. The bit you said you were touched so deeply by, where he's drinking the coffee.
Yeah,
and you like that he's. I don't know why, because obviously it's so hard to come across coffee in the kind of world they're living in. I loved the fact he'd managed to find some coffee,
and
I felt really happy for him.
You're a person who likes your coffee.
I've got one sitting in front of me right now,
and it's a very, very hot day. And I was like, "Do you really want coffee?
28 degrees is comfortable."
And you're like, "Okay, I'll have a coffee."
Yeah, coffee. By the way,
yeah, this game's full. Like we've already been recording. This is maybe going to be the longest episode we ever put out, but I don't care because I just wanted to talk about this game with you. There's so much more we could say about this game. There's
so much more notes.
Is there anything more you want to say?
Nothing massively important. No, I think I'm good. The fucking dogs is just
just the dogs.
Just reference the dogs again. Bastards.
I guess because this is kind of like a review. Is there like would you give this a rating of any kind? What would your little closing blurb if you were writing for a gaming web? What would your little closing statement of the Last of Us Part 2 be?
Well, I've read quite a lot of reviews that you used to write in your blog. I don't know if it's still up.
Ramblingsofascotsman.com.
There you go, it's still going. The Last of Us Part 2, directed by Neil Druckmann, how you always started them, is a game that I fucking loved it. The only way I describe it is a masterpiece. It's, as far as video games go, it's one of the best games ever made. It's I've never played any of the Final Fantasy games, but people always say I think it's 7 or 13 or some shit. It's one of the best games ever made. Last of Us 2 is one of the best things ever made. Up there with 1, the first one. For me, up there with BioShock Infinite, a game that I can go back to. I recently replayed and still absolutely loved it. I've got no doubt I'll replay this in years to come, and it'll still hit all the feels.
Would you want? This will be my last question before I do the wrap up. Would you want another Last of Us, or would you be fine with it ending as it does?
In the one hand, I wouldn't mind it if they'd done the same universe but a different story. Kind of set in a different continent.
Abby-like situation of a new character there.
Or even, if they want to do Abby, fair enough. But I don't... Although I'm fucking curious what Ellie's up to now. So, in the one hand, yes. In the other hand, no. I think they've left it in a decent place. But also, if they did hit out with more stuff, I wouldn't be fucking objecting.
Even with the kind of vitriolic response some people have seemed to have had to this game, you just know that if a Last of Us 3 comes out, they'll go and play it anyway.
Imagine how you're emotionally feeling involved. Imagine how the fucking people that make it are feeling, and the actors and actresses that do it.
A person like Neil Druckmann or Troy Baker or Ashley Johnson or anyone who works at Naughty Dog will never hear this. But if for a chance any of them were to ever make it to this point and hear it, I just want to say thank you to all of those people for the astonishing work they did of what is one of the best games I've ever played. It's up there with obviously The Last of Us. It's the emotions this game made me feel is mental because it's a video game. I can't. Only The Last of Us and the most recent God of War, maybe BioShock Infinite, are games that have made me feel the way this game has felt, and I can't thank them enough for that experience. And thank you for the great night's sleep, because I slept like a baby after it. But God, it was still tough.
Just be prescribed as a something to get you back to sleep.
Play like this for like 9 hours a day, and you'll sleep perfectly. Yeah, for me, Last of Us Part 2, fucking perfect, gorgeous, lovely, everything I wanted. I'm so happy about it. Not what I was expecting, which makes it even better. I absolutely loved it.
So just to quickly before we finish off then, Ashley Johnson, who famously plays Ellie, who Who thinks are better character, playing Ellie or Gretchen from Recess?
Oh, that's a rough one. Well, what we can do is I can wrap up by giving that question to the audience, or for anyone who might be listening. This has been the Meandering Movie Podcast. I am gonna, if you have made it this far, because this is maybe the longest I've ever put out, thank you so much. I would, if you have played The Last of Us Part 2 or any of The Last of Us and are just here to listen in, geese your thoughts. So hit us up at Meandering Pod on Twitter. If you go to Facebook or Instagram and search for Meandering Movie Podcast, you'll find us there, and you can email us meanderingmoviepodcast@gmail.com. I needed this outlet of being able to talk about this game with Ross.
Glad I could help.
Hopefully this was maybe a nice wee outlet for you if you don't have someone to talk to. And if you want someone to talk to, fucking send me all the messages you want and I'll chat up a storm with all of you, because I could easily keep talking about this game and recording about it. Thank you to Ross for coming on the Meandering Movie Podcast. His first, potentially not his last ever showing on the podcast.
Thanks very much. I've very much enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure having you, my good friend that I've known for way too many years. That is us. Goodbye, thank you, and for Ryan, music is life.
It's Meandering Movies, listening to Gary, Ryan, and Gavin. It's all about films, but goes off course. Will there be arguments? Of course, 'cause everyone knows their lives are dull and they have nothing else to talk about.